Welcome back to Draft Queens Off the Clock, the official podcast of the Draft Queens Fantasy League and our personal soapbox for all things football related. I'm Kristin.
And I'm Kat, and I hope you guys had a great week too. Check out our pod if you haven't, and we'll throw it back to Kristen to kick us off for our week 3 in review.
Yeah, week 3 of the NFL was a week of non-offensive touchdowns between blocked field goals, pick sixes, fumble returns, and more. We had a very surprising win over Dallas by the Bears and Caleb Williams. The Lions pulled out their first ever road win against the Ravens, and the Chiefs avoided an 0-3 season over the quite leaderless Giants right now. It's tough for me to watch Russ fall from grace these past couple years, with some commentators musing that he might play himself out of the Hall of Fame at this rate.
Yeah.
How about instead of counting touchdowns and toilets, you focus on keeping your career out of one? In a weird club of undefeated season starts, we have the Bills, Chargers, and Colts in the AFC, and the Eagles, Bucks, and Niners in the NFC. At this point, your Super Bowl guess is as good as mine. But I am personally rooting for our Joshy boy to keep it up for Buffalo and for Hannah.
You know what? I'm also rooting for Josh and Hannah. I'm always rooting for Josh and Hannah until they play the 49ers. But anyways, week 3 was a little crazy. Just want to talk about some notable injuries we've got on the Buccaneers. We've got Mike Evans, who's not quite IR bound yet with a hamstring injury, but he's battled a few of them in previous seasons. So it's highly likely that they're just going to put him on IR just to give him a couple extra weeks break. I don't know what that's going to do to Buccaneers offense since he's their wide receiver 1, but hey, go into the depth charts and if you need a wide receiver and see who's wide receiver 2 on the Bucs.
Mm-hmm.
And then over on the 49ers, Nick Bosa's out with an ACL tear, but honestly, Nick Bosa's a fucking terrible person, so I'm not entirely mad at it. What I'm really hoping is that this encourages the 49ers to learn how to play defense without him, because him being gone for the whole season, I want them to learn how to play defense without him so that we don't need him and we can get rid of him because he is terrible as a person. It's time. He's awful. And then going over to Washington, we have Scary Terry, who's out with a quad injury. Right now, they're seeking multiple opinions, which tells us that it's probably going to be a longer recovery time. We don't have a timeline for his return yet, but I'm not super sad. I am sad for him as a person, but I am not super sad for Colette because her team is already so good. Like, I don't need you to keep winning by a million. So hopefully he can come back, maybe IR, maybe longer, whatever. And then, transferring over to just games that were great, like the Panthers got their first win with Dave Canales in in his first win for his second year. I swear to God, Kristen, what do you think? I think he heard us talking.
A 30-0 win. I think he definitely heard us, and he said, "I am not going to disappoint them. I will do better."
Do better. Yes. So good job, Dave. Congratulations, 30-0, huge victory. And then play of the week, gotta say it. Oh man, the Eagles. I can't even believe it. Like this week was crazy with all of the blocked kicks, field goal misses. We'll talk a little bit about that later in politics. But yeah, so play of the week, Eagles, blocked kick. Man, oh, that was great. Go Birds. Really happy to see that was done in front of the Green Legion in Lincoln. So go Birds.
Taking it to our internal division here, the DQC, it's anybody's game here as well, with the final Queens now kicked out of the undefeated club. Sorry, Kat.
That's fine.
It's bound to happen eventually.
100%.
We have Brett's J Crew making quite a run, though, for season MVP on point totals. We've got an even split of 2-1s and 1-2 squads on the board, and it's really anybody's game at this point. So we will see who keeps healthy enough to, field an entire roster in a competitive showing for these next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. And I've said it from the beginning, and I'm going to say it again. Staying healthy is key.
We'd like to introduce a new segment for this episode because we're all learning here, and unlike men, we can admit when we were wrong. So we'd like to present to you After Review because it's never too late to do better. So, okay, I'm sorry. The Chiefs were in New York last week. They weren't at Arrowhead, But there was no sign of Blondie anywhere, so does it really even fucking matter?
I mean, no, it doesn't matter because it only matters when Taylor's there. And yes, there are a lot of fucking football people who would get mad at us for saying that, but it doesn't matter. This is our podcast and we're both Swifties, so it doesn't
We're
matter.
gonna see Wagler at some point.
Yes, yes, we are. Yes, we are. So for me, I've got two. Starting off in our draft queens, Brett, I'm pretty disappointed in you because I literally said it on our pod last weekend that I was very impressed with you for committing to the bit by taking Jake Browning and making your J crew even stronger per se. But upon review, after review, I see that you decided not to go with him, went with your gut, and took Marcus Mariota instead.
Was
So
more committed to winning than to the bit, which
exactly.
we gotta respect.
Exactly. I gotta respect it. Now, I don't think you necessarily need to have your husband rebrand from G off to Jeff, but hey, you can have a conversation with him about that.
Yeah.
And then my apology tour continues. Going to Green Bay. That was not a great game by Green Bay at all. And I am, after review, I'm taking back what I said about how they were a sleeper. I still, that was bad. You literally lost on a game losing field goal to the Cleveland fucking Browns. Bad. That is a do better for sure.
Do better.
And moving on into our next segment, we have our biggest winners and losers of the week. For me, look, we said it last week. Yes, we're allowed to say that we are our own biggest loser, and I am the biggest loser of the week. Nobody ate their football pills after starting on my team this week, and after starting 2-0, I dropped to 2-1 and moved from first place to fifth place. That is a massive drop off.
That's a big drop.
It's huge. It's fucking embarrassing. So I'm really hoping that I can bounce back this week, but who knows? I got a tough matchup with our cheesehead, birthday girl cheesehead over there. So who knows? Hopefully, but yeah, I'm definitely the biggest loser. And as for our biggest winners, I think Megan did really well, quietly moving into second place. Like I always kind of thought that she would have a good team based on how she drafted and like looking at her team week over week, but quietly moving into second for sure. And then I will also say Jasmine is the other one, quietly inching her way into the top third of our league in fourth place. So those two are my winners. The standings are definitely mixing it up.
It's close. Other winners this week, Hannah with her first win of the draft queen season. We're always rooting for you. However, with a bench redder than the Supreme Court, we will see how she holds up. We also had some very close matchups. Cough, cough. But some wins that have also been hearty. Kat, your own loss by 35 points, Debris included.
Yep.
Megan is expected to continue to dominate in week 4 against Steph, and will our sleeper agent Luann hit the J Crew in the jugular? Come on back next week and we'll find out.
Yes, we will. That's going to be a good one to watch for sure, Luann and Brett's team, especially because Jaden Daniels is out. So we'll see if Marcus Mariota can hang on for another week. And now we're going to take it to our next segment, Kristin Zaddy Corner.
Welcome to Zaddy Corner, where we honor the sideline views and these authority boos. This week's Zaddy Corner gives it up to a coach with big football guy energy. Now, you might be asking, Kristin, do you have daddy issues? I mean, probably, but let's give it up to Dan Campbell, our 6'5" daddy zaddy out of Detroit. His rugged, scruffy charm plus charisma dripping passion puts him in a category all on his own. The Lions are an easy team to root for these days, so while they are biting kneecaps, I'll stay weak in mine. So let's also give a shout out to one of my original coach zaddies, Seahawks coaching staff alum, and now 49ers defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. So where Campbell is pure muscle, Saleh is a calculated cool, a man who didn't even play in the NFL, but still commands the sideline with that bald head shine and the smolder of a defensive mastermind. The way he folds his arms, sleeves straining over those biceps, that's not just football, baby. That's foreplay. Now we take it to Politikicks, where football meets politics. One kick at a time. Let's turn some uprights into insights and hash marks into hot takes. Where are we following the ball to first, Kat?
Well, we got to go back to Atlanta. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in the ATL, but this new guy, Parker slash Tony Romo, he came in hot week two as a starter, went 5 for 5. Week three, however, he missed two critical field goals, one wide to the right and one wide to the left, which is kind of how Georgia swings these days. We never know. In the Falcons' blowout loss to the Panthers, which was so
Yikes.
sad. They needed that. They needed any points, and even Parker slash Tony Romo couldn't deliver. It begs the question: are the Falcons front office wondering if they've already made a mistake getting rid of Young Hoku, who is now on the practice squad with the New York Giants? Allegedly, he might get upgraded this week in week 4 to being the starter. So we'll see if that actually happens.
All right, now we'll take it to the 2-minute warning. What you got, Kat?
Well, quickly, we got another international game, this time in Dublin, where the Vikings are taking on the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers has a huge history with the Vikings, so we'll see if that hate for the purple comes through and his team can rally behind him, or if the Vikings are going to continue their role. And then we've got the Colts, who are quietly 3-0, and Daniel Jones has a whole new lease on life now that he's out of New York. Can he make it 4-0 as the Colts come to LA to take on the Rams? We'll soon find out. And then in Draft Queens, my matchup against Jasmine, 4th and 5th, is going to be a doozy. I'm looking forward to it. And look, I know it's your birthday, girl. We love you. Happy birthday. Happy 4th floor. But I promise that if I do beat you as a birthday present, I will give you a little less shit. And however, if you end up beating me, I will consider it a birthday gift from me to you if you do end up beating me. So that's my 2-minute warning. Kristen, what do you got?
Well, at the time of filming, the Seahawks have already secured the first W of the week against Arizona in a nail biter with a 52-yard field goal. We are seeing really thin margins for error this season already and the impact of some of these new rule tweaks. So we'll see if people are paying attention. Um, Packers Cowboys is, of course, my household's game of the week, with Micah Parsons returning home to Arlington with a Cowboys team that just lost to the Bears. Asia, it would be a really good time to learn how to be an emotional support animal.
Up
And
to
I
you, girl.
know, I know you're excited, Kat, about a possible return of the Purd in SF this week against Jacksonville. I will also be watching how the Giants fare with Dart at the helm. Kind of an odd choice, and not just because I adore Jameis Winston as a human. So we'll see how they do. I ended up playing Nadia in both Draft Queens and the Bye Week Blues this week, so kind of a fun little matchup. And with the Seahawk Mess already taking a dub over the Conclave, I'm going for a sweep.
All right, and that about wraps up our episode 3, week 3. Lots of standings shakeups in Draft Queens. The league's getting really competitive. We don't have any undefeated teams anymore, and we don't have any 0-3 teams anymore. So as we move into week 4, we're really going to start to separate the upper echelon versus the middle of the pack versus the lower end of the pack for the Draft Queens League. And moving into week 4, we have Brett in first place, Megan in second, Coco in third, Jasmine in fourth, me in fifth, and Steph in sixth, rounding out the 2 and 1s. And for the 1s and 2s, we have Luann in seventh, Bree in eighth, Kristen in ninth, Tia in 10th, Hannah in 11th, not in 12th, and
Last.
Nadia, and not last, and Nadia rounding out the pack. So stay tuned for next week's episode as we move into week 4 and see how our queens are doing.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching episode 3 of Off the Clock. Happy birthday, Jasmine, and see you all next week. Draft Queens out.
Out.